Welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Thursday, the 2nd of October. You with Steve Wiss, and I am joined by the maestro himself, who hit a clean sweep on last week's Europa League show. It is James Eastham. We're back for more Europa League tonight and the start of the Conference League, James. These are very, very exciting times.
Yeah, they are. Great to be here. Hope everybody out there as well watching and listening is doing well. Really enjoyed the Europa League last week. We're doubling up now. The Conference League starts as well. So huge card of games to get through. We haven't got picks on them all because we'd be here all night. But obviously looking forward to people's views on the games we cover, and very much looking forward to the views from people on games we're not covering, because what we found last season, Steve, and obviously in the qualifying rounds, there's some incredibly knowledgeable viewers out there who follow these two competitions really closely. So looking forward to hearing everybody's views.
Exactly that. We just simply cannot go through all the games. It's just the way it is. But I know there's people watching in chat who will have really great in-depth knowledge of some of these teams across the whole of Europe. You know, this is widespread here. The teams are, this is not just main leagues. This is all sorts of leagues. So we know there's going to be some beautiful bets out there that me and James, quite frankly, aren't aware of. So do put down your best bets in chat. Absolutely. But welcome in, everyone. Hope you've had a great betting week so far in the Champions League, on other sports, whatever you've been doing that way. We're going to start with Europa League, and then we're going to go into some Conference League stuff. We've got early and late kickoffs as well, which do muddy the waters a little bit. But I've got to put this graphic up because John produced it. Beautiful looking table. This is Europa League after one round, color coded and everything. So there's a long, long way to go here, but you've got to get in that top 24. Otherwise, you're knocked out of the Europa League. And, the higher you get, the more chances you've got of getting buys and home advantage and stuff like that. The interesting takeaways from round one, actually, certainly in the latter window of kickoffs, there was quite a few unders, James, actually, which surprised me. But it's too early, really, to get some trends going, isn't it? A long, long way to go. 7 more match days in Europa League.
Yeah, too early for trends, but it was interesting, and it shows that you don't necessarily have consistency across all the European competitions, because the Champions League has been really high scoring so far, hasn't it? So it shows we need to treat these competitions separately. There's some of the big hitters already near the top of that table after match day one. We had some of the teams that are favoured winning, but also a few teams down near the bottom who failed to win that will be hoping to do well in this competition. I'm looking at Bologna there, looking at Nice, maybe to a slightly lesser degree. All to play for. Long, long way to go. But after two match days, which is, we're on match day 2 now, teams start to feel the pressure if they don't have any points on the board. So if you're wondering about motivation today, whether teams are going to be thinking, we've got plenty of time to get points on the board, I'm not so sure about that. I think there's lots of teams in this competition who are taking it really seriously and want to win it. So I think most teams will be really up for this round of matches.
I've got absolutely tons of bets. Like, is anyone else the same here? First round of Conference and Europa, I've got tons of bets. It's just about separating in between, sort of more banker players, as someone just put in chat, and more leans. But we'll start with Europa League early kickoffs, and I'm actually going to kick us off with the match there in Norway, Brann against Utrecht. And for me, a bet in this game is Brann, simply on the money line. And the plus 105 with Bet Rivers, I think they are going to be really fired up for this one, Brann. They're going to take quite a bit of motivation from the performances that Bodo Glimt and Molde have had in Europe in recent seasons. They're going well in Elite Serie, and they're only, if they win their game in hand, they're only 3 points off the top of the table. So they are having a very, very strong season. Initially, I was thinking of overs because Brann matches are usually good for blind overs, as last week's game did profit against Lille. But the weather forecast has been pretty bad in Brann today. It's been raining. The pitch is a grass pitch in Brann, one of the few grass pitches up there. So it could be a bit of a slugfest. And it's the sort of match I could actually see them winning it like 1-0 or 2-0. Utrecht we saw last week against Lyon. You were spot on with that game. They're not really offering much, are they? No. They did score a few at the weekend, but I think it might be a lower scoring game than normal. I'm not saying the over can be ruled out because Brann do like to play quite front foot, but I'd rather take them Brann money line here at plus 105 today. Put up quite a good performance, I thought, against Lille last week, Brann. We expect them to get beaten quite well.
Yeah.
So I think it was a really encouraging for them. I think they can get the 3 points here, and the money is on them. 88% of the money and 94% of the tickets. Brann money line for me, James. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with Brann. I thought they gave a good account of themselves against Lille last week. 2-1 win for Lille in the end. Lille did rotate a little bit, but took it seriously. Small crowd at that game for Lille, which I think may have been a bit disheartening for the French side. But yeah, I would agree with what you say there, Steve. I think it's a good reading of the game. It's one I've left alone. I thought I'd leave the Norwegian team to you, but I do agree that they were pretty impressive last week.
Bialystok under 2.75 goals. That could be a good winner, actually, if the weather is it's still going to rain all the way through the match, I think. So it could be quite a bit bogged pitch. Just going back to the early games here, I want to get your thoughts. I've not got a pick for the game. You've not either. But Roma Lille here. I mean, Roma minus 150, a team that I know you rate quite highly this season. And at times, I know you do want to get Lille on side. I mean, I thought the odds were about right here. That's what.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons that put me off on betting. But what are you expecting to see from the game, James?
Yeah, I would say the same, Steve. I think they're about right. A couple of things I'm expecting from the game. The first is I think Lille will be stronger than they were in the league last weekend, which may come as a surprise to people because the feeling generally around Lille is that they may well rotate in this competition. The reason I think they'll be stronger is they had loads of players out injured in the league last weekend when they lost 1-0 at home to Lyon. A lot of those players have come back for this game, certainly in the squad. Benjamin Andre in midfield, Romain Perrault, who is first choice left back, Thomas Meunier, first choice right back. They're all in the squad. So we're not sure if they're going to start, but it means they've actually got better options. And I think a couple of them might do because this is such a big game. Question though, will Giroud be up front for Lille? Really interesting question that. He rotated out of the side against Brann last week. Igamane started, who has done very well so far as a number 2 striker since going in at Lille. The media are split over whether Giroud will start. The feeling is that he's probably too old to be playing 2 games in a week. And he did start against Lyon at the weekend, so we'll have to wait and see. It's a tricky one for manager Bruno Genesio because I think he'll want to put out a strong team here to avoid a heavy defeat. I'm not saying the backup players couldn't do that, but he's got a few selection decisions to make. So I don't have a pick or a lean on the game either, Steve. I think the prices on this are about right. I did see a comment there about what an interesting game it is, but what a tough game to find an angle on. I completely agree with that. I think a fascinating game to watch where we will probably learn, those of us who follow Serie A and League One, quite a lot about both teams here, but very difficult for me to see a good angle on it.
I'd go Roma to win 2-1 if I had to put a correct score on the game. 91% of the money is on Roma, by the way, and 91% of the tickets. 80% of the over-under money's on the over for the game. But I don't think it's one to get heavily involved in. A good match to watch, though. Like you said, Could be some excellent in-running potential there as well. Yeah. Celtic Braga, I've not actually got anything for that game. And I don't think you have either, James. I just put it up there because I thought it was one of the more high-profile fixtures. I've got a feeling chat might have a few things to say about Celtic here. Are they a good thing or not here, Celtic, today? Braga, veteran sort of team at Europa League level. But Celtic at home, that will interest some people, I think, close to even money on Glasgow Celtic. 92% of the tickets on them as well, James. Both team to score, yes, is actually hitting 13 of Celtic's last 15 Europa League fixtures. That was a stat I got from producer Troy. A Celtic on your radar to be back in at some point in this tournament. Scottish teams have been poor in Europe, haven't they?
Not at the moment. I looked at that game. It's another of those games like the Roma game. The prices look about right to me, so I'm leaving it alone. I don't get a strong feel on either of those sides at the moment. So one of those where maybe they'll come into play further down the group stages. But for now, watching brief for me on both of these teams.
Yeah, 100% for me as well. The bottom game, they've got Fenerbahce against Nice. Fenerbahce minus 125 favourites, plus 290 on the tie. Nice are plus 320. I've got a bet on this game. You have as well, James. You absolutely were spot on with the bet last week, opposing Nice when Roma came into town. They now travel to Turkey. I mean, a great week so far for Turkish football. Galatasaray deservedly beating Liverpool 1-0. I mean, they are the champions of Turkey, but Fenerbahce weren't that far behind. If we base it on that sort of result and performance, then we've got to respect Turkish football, haven't we?
Yeah, completely. I think Fenerbahce are good value to be favourites here. I thought the prices looked about right. Unbeaten in Turkey, Fenerbahce, after 7 matches. They've had 4 wins and 3 draws. And it's a tough game, this, for Nice, because, I opposed Nice last weekend. They lost 2-1 at home to Roma. They have played really poorly so far this season. Anybody that has watched them, forget the results. Performance level, it's not good. They were beaten very easily over 2 legs against Benfica in the Champions League. That's why they ended up in this competition. They played pretty poorly in League One so far, give or take the odd 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. They could only draw 1-1 at home to Paris FC last weekend. Didn't play particularly well in that match. So real tough game for Nice. I think they're defending poorly at the moment. They don't have a settled back 3, normally play a back 3. So I'd be very surprised if they keep a clean sheet tonight. I can't see that happening. My lean on the game is both teams to score, which I saw one of our viewers have put up as well. Available at minus 143. I think that's worth taking because I think Fenerbahce will see this as a very winnable game and go for it. I think they're very capable of winning it and scoring a couple of goals. And Nice, for all that they're not playing well generally, they are doing a bit better for me going forward than defensively. And the defense has been so poor. I think if they want anything here, they're going to have to attack. So I think both teams to score is worth a look at minus 143. But just a lean from me, nothing really strong on it. I think Fenerbahce have got a good chance of winning it, Steve, but I think the price on them is about right. So that's why I've looked to the both teams to score market instead.
I like Fenerbahce here to win, minus 125 on the money line. I think a few people have put that in chat as well. And it's just Nice in Europe are almost an auto fade now for me. They just don't seem to produce any of their best soccer in this competition. And it's just a tough match anyway. Fenerbahce away, you really don't want to travel there. So I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with minus 125 on Fenerbahce money line. They're reasonably well supported in the money here, 76% of the money. Most of the money's on the over, 95% of the over-under money's on the over. So expecting a few goals in the game, that is for sure. And, both teams to score. Lean of yours at minus 143, I suspect would be one of your stronger leans of the day, actually.
Yes, it would be.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Brian saying Fenerbahce team total over 1.5. And by the way, there's so many comments and bets coming through. It's really difficult today to read them all out because we're trying to get through the games, but I am reading them all as they're coming through. And there's some great suggestions. General feeling is that Celtic are to be opposed. John Massey there. We do know that Celtic haven't invested as wisely as they should have done this summer. And Braga double chances like in that market. There's a couple of more Europa early games I just want to mention. I didn't put them on the graphic, but I think Victoria Plzeň and Panathinaikos will be home wins. And I've just looked at Bet Rivers now. You can get a parlay double on them at plus 197. Panathinaikos against Go Ahead Eagles, who were disappointing last week against, I forgot, they got beat by FCSB at home. And Victoria Plzeň and Malmo, a battle between two teams who have interim bosses right now, I do believe. Malmo they're just a mess right now, Malmo. Don't like what I'm seeing from them. They lost against Ludogorets. Victoria Plzeň, a regular picker up of coefficient points is a great way to describe that team. So I think you could do far worse than that Panathinaikos Victoria Plzeň double. We've got Conference League starting, and we're not looking at the outright market of Conference League yet. We'll maybe do that another week because we've got so much to discuss. But I can tell you now, Crystal Palace, Fiorentina, Strasbourg, Mainz, and Rayo Vallecano, they're the top 5 favourites in the market, ranging from plus 400 to plus 900. No real surprises there at all. And Crystal Palace, the favourites, plus 400. They're the Premier League team. I totally get it. You got a lean in this game, James. Yes, you've got a lean in this one. Palace, Dynamo, Kiev. Palace travelling out to... Now, you're going to tell me where exactly. I've forgotten.
Yeah, Poland for this game. That price, I look at the price on Palace there, minus 210. So it's neutral venue, which I think explains partly why that price is minus 210. You look at it and you think, is that too short on Palace? You can argue it either way because, let's be honest, it's a new experience for a lot of these players playing in Europe. That would be the question mark against Palace. It's not just enough to say you're doing well in the Premier League, I think, to do well in Europe. They are doing well in the Premier League. They're third in the table. They're unbeaten after 6 matches, obviously with a couple of high-profile wins. So On those grounds, I think the short price on Palace is justified. And then my lean here, -1 on the Asian handicap at -117, because I think they're good enough to win the game. And if they win by a single goal by backing the -1 on the Asian handicap, at the very least, you'll get your stakes back. Dave Clark's making a very good point there. They haven't played that well in this tournament yet. That is true. We followed them, obviously, in the qualifying. They scraped through rather than going through as comfortably as we thought they would or should. So that's my concern about them. Are they still on a learning curve in this competition, playing in different countries, playing against opposition from different countries? Maybe. And that would be the question mark against them. So it's just a lean from me on Palace. They may rotate a little bit. There's talk about whether players like Sarr, Adam Wharton may drop to the bench here. So let's wait and see. I'm confident that we'll see a bit more from them here now that they've got into the group stage. I think there was a few nerves about whether they were going to make it through the qualifying, and maybe that undermined their performance level a bit. Now the real business begins. I'm expecting more from them. So it's a lean for me on Palace, -1 on the Asian handicap. But I do understand people who've got a few reservations in the comments there, because you might want to wait and see Palace actually perform big in Europe before you start getting with them.
I think one of the best things about backing Crystal Palace in any cup competition is that they're going to take it seriously. This manager, Oliver Glasner, has a history of putting his strongest sides out, even in League Cups before. So this is, let's be honest with you, Crystal Palace are going to focus on winning a trophy again, because they're not going to finish in the top 4 in the Premier League. It'd be a stretch for them to get in the top 6. Their best chance of qualifying for Europe is by winning a cup. So yeah, they're not a team I want to be opposing, and I do get what Kenny's saying there about the Fredrikstad game. But what Palace are, they're a result team. They're a clear result team, and Glasner will want to get the result here. Look, would a draw be terrible for them? No, but first match, get 3 points in the bag. This is a Premier League team against Dynamo Kiev. Now, no home advantage, of course. It's starting to hit these Ukrainian sides a bit hard, I think, now with this lack of home advantage. And by the way, in terms of do cats prefer whiskers? Well, yeah, it's the premium brand of cat food, isn't it, really?
Yeah, others are available, Steve, we should say.
There are others available. Yeah. Yeah, they are.
And just very quickly on Palace as well, Steve, I think it was Stephen in the comments. Apologies if I've got that wrong, but made a really good point. When you've got a manager with good European experience, which Crystal Palace do, it's hard for us to say for sure what difference that makes, but it can only be an advantage. If he's working with a squad of players who largely don't have a huge amount of experience, certainly as a group, I think that does give them an edge here. And you can argue, well, why didn't it make a difference in the qualifying, which I understand. But I think now, like I say, we're in the group stage. I think having a manager like that who knows his way around European competition, I think it's potentially a really big advantage for Palace.
And Kenny, I actually used to have, or it was actually my wife's, a Sphinx cat. A Sphinx cat used to have one of those. So they do exist. I actually saw one around my area recently, randomly loose. They shouldn't be outdoors this time of year. It's too cold for them. But they're an incredible sight, actually, Sphinx cats. If you ever do come across one, producer Troy is absolutely right. We should get sponsored. Yeah, some sort of cat brand. No doubt about it whatsoever. A couple of the games on the card here. Jagiellonia, Bialystok, Hamrun, Spartans. I've got a bet in this one. One of my strongest ones of the day, actually. The Polish side, Jagiellonia, -2 on the Asian handicap with Bet Rivers. They are at home to Maltese opposition, the Spartans here. This is, I think it's groundbreaking sort of first for the nation. I don't think they've ever had a club in a league stage before for any of these competitions. But I think it'd be a step too far for the Spartans here. Jagiellonia, we know they're actually more experienced at this level now than people give them credit for. And they are very, very capable of winning this match by at least 2 goals. -112 with Bet Rivers now. Jagiellonia, Bialystok, -2. I think they could rack up quite a big score here. The Maltese league just simply isn't good enough, in my opinion, this level away from home in Poland. By the way, Jagiellonia doing all right in that very competitive Polish league right now. Lausanne-Sport against Breidablik. You might expect this bet or lean to come from me here, but it's actually James who's got one for this one. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's just a lean. I'm opposing Lausanne-Sport here, Steve. I've said it before on the show. I'm always slightly disappointed by Swiss teams in Europe. Maybe my expectations are too high because I quite enjoy watching the Swiss league, and I think the teams have got more potential than they've shown in Europe over the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm opposing Lausanne-Sport here, who are very short favourites. You can get with Breidablik plus 1.5 on the Asian handicap at minus 137. I see Barak in comments is going on exactly the other side of that bet. So let me explain my view of it. It's just that Lausanne-Sport are not playing particularly well even in their own league this year. I think they've only won 1 out of 7 in the Swiss Super League. They've lost 4 of those games. Interestingly, they've only scored 8 goals in those 7 matches. Now, the Swiss League, we know, is a high-scoring league. Lausanne-Sport are struggling for goals at the moment. I'm not sure they're playing well enough to win this game by a couple of goals. Now, of course, they're playing a team here from the Icelandic League in Breidablik. It's a lower standard of league than what Lausanne-Sport play in. That potentially offers the hosts Lausanne a big advantage. So I get that. But you've also got habits. You know, Lausanne have got a non-winning habit at the moment, and Breidablik have been, if not difficult to beat recently, then difficult to beat by a big margin. I think they've lost only 1 of their last 14 games in all competitions by 2 or more goals. And that does include some games in Europe. So they are facing a better side in Lausanne tonight than they've generally faced in recent weeks and the last couple of months. And I do understand why that might put some people off, and it put me off a little bit, which is why it's only a lean. But the moment I'm fairly comfortable opposing Lausanne at this handicap line, because I've not really been impressed with them so far this season. So it's just a lean for me, but it's Breidablik on the Asian handicap plus 1.5 start, and it's available at minus 137.
The Icelandic League has just a couple of rounds left, I do believe.
Yes.
But Lausanne, I mean, that Swiss league it seems to change every year. It's very competitive. I mean, they're second bottom of that league, Lausanne. You know, they're down there with the grasshoppers and stuff. I totally get why they're coming into the game. They're a big favourite, and I think they'd be relieved just to get a 1-goal win. Yeah, wouldn't they?
That's how I see it, Steve. And I look through the team as well, and I don't see a lot of goals in it either. So listen, let's wait and see. It's one of those games where they're playing a weaker side, we have to admit, than they face week in, week out in Switzerland, and maybe that will be enough for them. But right now, I'm actually quite comfortable opposing them at that sort of price.
Rayo Vallecano against Shkendija. This is La Liga team, the 5th favourites to win the Europa League this season, Conference League, sorry. And this is where my corners bet of the day is coming in. Someone was asking me about put it in the comments earlier, but I can't remember who put it. But me and Rayo Vallecano corners link hand in hand, James, as you know.
Yeah.
And the ladder's coming out here for me. I am betting on 4 different corner lines. I'm going a bit berserk here, to be brutally honest with you. But I am going on Rayo Vallecano individual corners at over 6.5 corners at minus 139, over 7.5 at plus 118, and over 8.5 Rayo corners at plus 185 as well. You can actually get over 9.5 now with Bet Rivers at plus 280. Like I've mentioned before, the way they play, they just rack up corners. The Sevilla game at the weekend, they lost it. It was just corners galore. They play 4-4-2. They're going to dominate the game. It's as simple as that. But they're sort of team who don't score enough goals, or they take too long to score the goal. So, you know, hopefully they stay 0-0 for as long as possible and keep racking up the pressure. But they are one of my favourite teams in the whole of Europe for corners. I don't want to take the match corners because I don't think Shkendija will get many opportunities at all. I mean, we know La Liga teams are so good technically. They're going to dominate the ball. So Shkendija probably will only get 1 or 2 corners. So, yeah, it's team total corners for me here on Rayo Vallecano, definitely. And just a couple of other... There's one other early game in the Conference League I want to mention, which I didn't put on the graphic. It's his KuPS against Drita. This is the Finnish champions, actually. And I like Drita. They're one of my favourite dogs of the day. The main reason is because in the Finnish leagues, that's another one, just a few rounds to go, and it's really close up there. The top 4 are separated by 4 points. KuPS are right in this battle to win the league, and I think that's got to be their priority: win that league, get back in the Champions League qualifying. And Drita, I've watched them quite a bit in the Conference League qualifying this season. They're not a bad side. They gave FC Copenhagen a good run for their money. And the +1 Asian handicap on Drita is available at -136. I think they can spring a surprise here. And it wouldn't even shock me if they won money line at +440. This Finnish league is not what it used to be. Don't rate it much these days. Yeah. So Drita would be one of my dogs of the day. George Belko said Breidablik games were a goal fest last season. They certainly were. They're an interesting team to follow. For them, I think this will be a priority. That title's wrapped up by, I think, one of the Reykjavik teams. There's about 10 from Reykjavik, but KR, is it? So this will be their priority, this competition. And watch out for them at home as well, by the way. No one wants to travel up there on their plastic pitch in the cold weather. There we go. That's the early game sorted. We've got some late kickoffs as well in Europa League. I'm going to ask your thoughts, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of thoughts in chat about Feyenoord versus Aston Villa, because, I was a little bit surprised here, James, to see Aston Villa as clear favourites as they are, +123. I do like what Villa have done a lot better in the last two games, obviously, than they did in the early part of the season. But Feyenoord, there's been a suggestion amongst some quarters, and I mentioned this with Will White yesterday, that they might be the best team in the Eredivisie. So I don't think it's a straightforward result for Villa. Feels actually like the sort of game that might well end up a tie. Actually, both teams would be happy with a point each. But Aston Villa, are you sort of back on their bandwagon after the last two results, or is there still some issues, do you think, within their squad?
Yeah, still some issues for me, Steve. You're right. They've done a bit better, haven't they? They had the win over Fulham at home at the weekend, 3-1. And they did win on match day 1-0 against Bologna. So steps in the right direction. I can see why they're favourites, just about, because they do still have some very good players in that squad. This is a team that, got to the Champions League quarter-finals last season. I know there have been changes to the squad since then, and there's arguments about whether they've done the right or the wrong thing in the transfer market. So I get that, but they've not lost everything that they had last year. So if they are coming good, and they've certainly done better, like you say, in the last two matches, I think that price of plus money, yet favourites, is about right. In the end, I did have a look at this. I left it alone in the end because I think the prices are about right. And I've not followed, to be quite honest, Feyenoord closely enough to have a strong view. I know you mentioned Will White there, and other people will be following that league fairly close, I think. So I looked at the prices and I thought they were about right. I think Villa have shortened a bit. I think they were closer to +145 yesterday. So it looks like people are backing them and siding with them. And I'll be interested to see how they go about this, because I think it's a sort of game Villa, as a big team who want to do well, will go out to win. So I'm expecting a fairly open game, but I didn't in the end have a lean or a pick on it.
Yeah. Villa fan earlier in chat, Adam put in that he's going to be opposing his own team here by taking the +quarter of a goal on Feyenoord. And Jan Philippe, Jan, by the way, you spot on with your own team, Ajax, getting battered by Marseille the other night. They do seem really, really poor. And he says, get on the draw, double chance for Feyenoord. I know there's certain people who believe that Dutch teams are in auto fade at the minute. I just think in the Champions League, maybe PSV, to be fair, got a result in Germany, didn't they? So you've got to take it situational. Match by match. The KuPS is an electric atmosphere. It is a tough place to go. We use that term, we overuse that term, but genuinely tough place to go. Not a nice place to go either, in the words of Nigel Seeley. They're going to be, they'll be up against it here, Villa. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But there is money for them, 90% of the tickets on Aston Villa, James.
Yeah.
So
seems to be going that way, Steve. Like I say, there's people, all sorts of views, which is fascinating to read. Some people on Villa and some people opposing Villa. So let's wait and see. I'm expecting Villa to continue what we've seen so far in the last two games. I'm expecting a decent performance. It just remains to be seen if it will be enough to get the win.
Guardian JH, hello from Finland. He's going to play KuPS today. They did beat Kairat 2-0 at home in the qualifying. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Guardian JH. Who is the best team in Finland right now? There's 4 teams all within 4 points of the top. Is it HJK Helsinki? Inter Turku are up there. KuPS, of course, are up there as well. I don't think the Finnish league's been great this year, to be honest with you. That's the way that I've seen it. Okay, some of the late games for Europa League here. Lyon against RB Salzburg. You were spot on with the Lyon bet last week, James, under goal line. It went well under the goal line, didn't it? And this Lyon team, it's unusual. This is not the Lyon that I know of. It's not the Lyon that you know of in our lifetimes, really. It seems to be a different DNA version. They're minus 175 to beat RB Salzburg, which that looks a little bit short to me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about RB Salzburg. But you're not going to get involved with the money line markets here. Are you, again, involved in the goal lines?
Yeah, involved in the goal line. It's a lean from me. It's nearly a pick. It's on under 3 goals, which is available at minus 139. As you can see there with the graphic, over 2.5 goals is the clear favourite in the over under 2.5 goals market. And I don't think that's right. I think the chances of goals in Lyon games at the moment is pretty low. And I think the market hasn't reacted to it. And for people who don't follow League One as closely as Steve and I do, I can give you some context to this. The context being that Lyon at the moment don't really have a top class number 9, which is unusual for a club who've always had a reputation for having them. You think of players like Karim Benzema and Sonny Anderson back in the day. They don't really have a top-class number 9 at the moment. They lost George Mikau-Tads on transfer deadline day. He went to Villarreal. He didn't really want to go, but they needed the money. We all know that Lyon have had big financial problems this season, so they had to sell. They did sign a replacement, we should say, Martin Satriano, who came in from Lens. Different sort of player, not a prolific goal scorer and not a guaranteed starter yet either at Lyon. So a couple of games this season so far, they've played without a striker. Yeah, they're sort of packing the midfield and the wings and taking it in turns to rotate into that centre forward position. So there aren't a great deal of goals in their games. We saw that last weekend when they won 1-0 at Lille. They scored with their only chance in the match. We saw it to a degree last weekend when they won 1-0 on match day 1, just not seeing the goals, where the goals are coming from Lyon. So I think it's a great opportunity here to oppose the high goal line. Under 3 goals at minus 139 means you'll get your stakes back. If the game has exactly 3 goals, you're only going to lose if there are 4 goals or more. And there's nothing about how Lyon are playing or how their games are going at the moment that suggests there's going to be 4 goals here. The reason I've gone for a lean rather than a pick is RB Salzburg. Maybe they're going to give up a few more chances than 1 or 2 of the sides that Lyon have faced so far. Lyon are at home. They're definitely going to go for it. They've not really, in a funny sort of way, changed the way they're playing. They're still a possession-based side who are looking to get forward. It's just that lack of a cutting edge in the penalty area at the moment. So slightly different game here against opposition from a weaker division than they've been facing so far in League One. But I still think the goal line is set in the wrong place here. So it's a lean from me here. Pretty much the same as I did last time out on Lyon in this competition. It's to go under goals. Under 3 goals is available at minus 139.
Yeah, fair enough. You got to keep riding this train, really, this under train. Lyon have, I'm not saying they become a boring team, but 4 times 1-0 wins. You could be forgiven by looking at those results and thinking they are quite a boring team. I do have a betting breakdown for this game, and it is, Lyon have been back 92% of the money and 93% of the tickets. Just 72% of the money is on the over. So that's actually not that high. When you get most matches have 80% or more money on the over. So it would suggest that, even the public now starting to get onto these trends with Lyon of both teams score no under goals. Times
and there are opportunities. And I saw a comment there about Tyler Morton to score ? Really good question, that, because like I say, they're getting players from deeper positions into scoring positions where there is nobody in front of them. When you're playing without a number 9. So all I would say about that is I think Satriano, the number 9 that they do have in their squad, he may well start tonight because he didn't start the weekend. So that might change the dynamics slightly. It might be a slightly more traditional attacking shape. So I wouldn't really be looking at the midfielders specifically on the game tonight if Satriano starts. But do keep an eye on that, because we've seen Tyler Morton get into the box. Toliso's been playing almost as a false 9 as well. That's been the sort of the modus operandi in League One. So really interesting to see. But I think Satriano might start tonight and give them a bit more traditional shape in the penalty area.
He's just not a striker I would ever back to score any time. He doesn't hit the back of the net enough.
Yeah.
If you look at his past record, it's 10 goals in his last 5 seasons. In the league matches anyway. I really hope I've not cursed you there, James, by that. But he just does not float my boat as a striker. He misses too many chances. It's as simple as that. He wouldn't be my cup of tea. But okay, there's some more late kickoffs. I mean, Porto here against Crvena, Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade. For me, best bet of the day. What am I missing here? Porto -1 Asian handicap at -129. They've won every single game to 0 bar 1 this year in all comps. They look really rock solid. Red Star away from home, lost 9 of their last 11 in Europe. Okay, quite a lot of those are in the Champions League, but this would have been a Champions League fixture most seasons. So I don't see what I'm missing here, unless Porto are expected to rest and rotate. But even then, you would expect them to have too much for Red Star, who are just notoriously poor travellers in Europe, full stop. I watched them last week. They were one of my bets last week, Red Star. But they only drew 1-1 against Celtic, which was a fair result. I thought I expected more from them. Maybe I'm being a bit disrespectful to Celtic there, but I did expect more from Red Star in that game. They got the point, but I thought they'd be better than they are. Porto, if they want it here, just win comfortably, probably to 0. It looks a free hit for me. I thought this would be like -1.5 handicap, and you're at -1 on -129 there for Porto. And the other match that I've got on there, interesting thoughts here, James. I've not got a bet now, but you do have a pick on the newsletter actually that you gave out on Monday. Need you to bail me out here, James. My newsletter pick lost this week in the Champions League. This is Nottingham Forest against Midtjylland. Forest -240. It's going to be a pretty emotional night, isn't it? On the Trent, we're going to be hearing Christmas songs and everything here. They're going to be rattling it out. Big night for Forest. But are they trustworthy at -240?
Well, I don't think they are, Steve. So let's see what we can do here. Yeah, you're right. It's my newsletter pick, which I put out earlier in the week on Midtjylland, +1.5 Asian handicap at -143. So you need Midtjylland to avoid defeat by a couple of goals or more, and you'll make a profit. And I'm just not convinced yet by Forest under Ange Postecoglou. I don't think they maybe played as badly as some people seem to think, but they haven't won yet. In 5, drawn 2, lost 3. They drew 2-2 on match day 1 against Real Betis, which isn't a bad result, actually. I mean, I think some people were disappointed. I think they conceded late on there, but I thought that's a reasonable result. But generally speaking, without a win in 5, you're asking them to go here and win by a couple of goals. So I'm not sure they can do that. They're playing a Midtjylland side who are really experienced now in Europe. Made a good start in Denmark. They've won 6 out of 10 so far. They've lost only 1 in the league. And they started with a 2-0 win over Sturm Graz on match day 1. So I think Midtjylland will go here feeling confident that they can put up a good performance, put up plenty of resistance. And I think right now there's not enough evidence that Forest are going to win this game by a couple of goals. There's also team news to consider. Are Forest going to rotate a little bit? I think they probably are. They do have a good squad. You've got to say that. I mean, they've got great options in attack in particular, I think. So they can rotate in the final third and still be pretty strong and have a goals threat. And you might want to look at Forest on the goals markets. But for me, I just feel that -240, based on what we've seen from them so far, against a side who have made a solid start in their own league and have got a good European pedigree now, it's just a bit too short. So it's just a lean for me, but it's siding with Midtjylland +1.5 on the Asian handicap.
Well, they've not won a game yet under Ange Postecoglou. Yet they're -240 here against a decent Danish team who are well used to playing in Europe. They're experienced squad in this sort of competition. Forest, this is their first appearance in Europe for 20 odd years, 30 years nearly. Big night, like I said, and I think the -240 is just inflated because they're a Premier League team, and there is obviously going to be a lot of public action on them. 95% of the tickets are on Forest. It's no surprise. I get books can't take certain risks with certain matches like this, but I wouldn't be on them. I wouldn't be on them either.
No, and the other thing to say as well, Steve, about Forest, they're slightly different from the Premier League teams we often see in Europe in that they got into Europe last year, but they're not really guaranteed to get into Europe again in the way that some of the other Premier League teams are. If you think of Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, even Chelsea, I know they've had the odd dip, but they're teams who are consistently in Europe. There's a good chance that Forest could be a team in Europe from the Premier League this season and finish, 13th or 14th in the Premier League. So what you're actually dealing with while they're playing in Europe is a mid-table European side, which gives it a totally different perspective to if it was a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a Manchester City. So, yeah, slightly suspicious at the moment about why they're as short as they are. I completely understand them being favourites and also minus money favourites, of course, but minus 240 at the moment just looks a bit too short.
Peter Chalkins calls it an incredible play from you, this one, James. He thinks that if Forest do get ahead, they'll just sit the game out for 1-0. And Kenny's right. It is a big, big game for Ange. Overs is going to be popular as well whenever Ange is involved. It's going to be an intriguing fixture. We'll move to the Conference League late games. Celle against AK Athens. I just put that up there because Celle are just normally an automatic over bet, aren't they, in the Conference League here? Minus 148 for those who are interested in that one. Fiorentina against Sigma. Olomouc, Fiorentina, regular Conference League level. I did actually see Sigma play against Malmo in Europa qualifying. They were well outclassed by Malmo, and Malmo are not in great shapes at the minute. Fiorentina, if they want it, should be covering that minus 1.5 Asian handicap, in my opinion. So that would be a lean for me. And then we go to Slovan Bratislava against Racing Club de Strasbourg. James, this is your strongest play of the day. It's the only official pick you're actually giving out as opposed to leans.
Yes.
So talk us through this one. Strasbourg minus money favourites in Slovakia.
Yeah, minus money favourites, but I'm avoiding the money line here and I'm going on the under goal line. Very similar to what I did on the Lyon game. Here's my strongest pick of the day. This is under 3 goals at minus 139. I have to say, this pick doesn't have a great deal to do with Slovan Bratislava. I'm hoping they're going to play along here and be fairly well organised. It's nearly all to do with Strasbourg and their team news, and more specifically, the fact that both of their best strikers are out and missed this game. The players in question being Emmanuel Emega, who's a fantastic player for Strasbourg in the number 9 position, and also his deputy, Panicelli, a player who came in the summer. So Strasbourg, a bit like Lyon, maybe not the Lyon of today, but the Lyon we've seen recently, may well be playing without a proper number 9. They've got other players in the squad who can go into that position, but they don't really have another player in the squad who can naturally play as the number 9. And almost as importantly, forgetting the number 9 thing, they don't have many players likely to be in their starting 11 or coming off the bench tonight with a great goals record. So I really struggle to see where the Strasbourg goals are going to come from here. They should be favourites because they're a strong group of players, and it's the sort of game where at the very least they should avoid defeat. But I think Slovan Bratislava will have seen the team news with Strasbourg and thought, do you know what? If we're well organised here, we can try and hold out here for a point, because the threat that they'll be facing in the final third from Strasbourg is much weaker than it would be if Strasbourg were at full strength. So I think the under 3 goal lines is a way to play it. I think the chances of the game having 4 goals or more are pretty slim when you think about that team news with Strasbourg. As I say, they just don't have many players in their squad who can score goals. One other thing I wanted to mention, and this is going all the way back to last season, but Strasbourg, for me, are still recovering from having lost Andre Santos in midfield, who went back to Chelsea. He'd been on loan at Strasbourg, was a great goal-scoring midfielder for them last season. They don't, at the moment, have a goal threat from midfield either. So if you're thinking, well, there's somebody else in the team who can fill in for the lack of goals in the penalty box, not really. This is a team who, on paper, look pretty functional tonight. Very well organised are Strasbourg, very quick, athletic side, difficult to beat. I don't think many teams, other than the very best teams in France, will beat them this season. So Slovan Bratislava would be mid-table at best in League One. I think Strasbourg's minus money price is fair, and I'd be really surprised if they lost here, but I don't see many goals in it because of that team news. So yeah, it's my strongest play of the day. It's under 3 goals on this game, and it's available at minus 139.
James F says, "What does the cat like?" This pick, by the looks of it, I can't get her away from this pick. But yeah, unders. I mean, are you Nigel Seeley in disguise, James?
I am.
The unders today,
Yes.
right on board with it. 2 under 3 goals picks. Whatever you say certainly does make a lot of sense. There's loads of other games that are on my radar. We didn't even talk about Rangers. Another bet I like is over 3.25 goals in Basel against Stuttgart. That's a late Europa League game. Mentioned Basel before, haven't we? Throughout the whole qualifying, right from the summer, actually, full of goals usually. And there was, I put Sparta Prague against Shamrock on there. Shamrock Rovers, by far the best Irish team. They're going to win that league. And I've been impressed with Shamrock Rovers in Europe this season. They have a very distinct game plan usually, and it will be to soak up pressure. And I think Sparta Prague could have quite a frustrating night. But it is one of those where, unfortunately, the goal line was not quite as high as I wanted it to be to go on the unders, because you're looking at sort of 1-0, 2-0 to Sparta Prague, I think, in that sort of game. Shamrock, they've impressed me. Like I say, I think they're just such an annoying side. I wouldn't want to be facing them if I was a manager, because it's not such the free hit, easy win as you might expect. But my best 3 bets of the day are Porto -1 Asian handicap. And then we're going back to the early fixtures. I really do like that double of Panathinaikos and Plzeň straight on the money line. And as a third best bet, I would probably have to give out Brann there on the money line against Utrecht. But like I said, I've gone through loads of picks and leans that I like. Just run us through your best bet and maybe your best couple of leans, James.
Yeah, my best bet would be that pick on the Strasbourg game, under 3 goals at -139. And among the leans, I would pick out one. It would be the same sort of lean. It's on the Lyon game. Very close to being a full pick for me. This Lyon versus RB Salzburg, under 3 goals on that game as well, which is also -139.
The Betting Weekly Insider will be released tomorrow into your inboxes. It is free to sign up. Please do sign up for this newsletter. Hoping there's going to be some new twists to the newsletter coming up in the next few weeks. Like I say, James's pick there was on Monday's edition. Picks you can get on earlier than normal. We've seen it many times where we've given a pick out on a Monday and the price is shortened well in come match day. So you can get an edge on that. Please do sign up. Totally free of charge. And coming up in 13 minutes, Premier League show should be released with Nigel, Dan, and Jack Wright assessing the weekend card. But James, it was a busy show. Thanks so much, everyone. But enjoyed that one. Good luck with all your plays. And I will see you tomorrow when we're doing Betting Weekly time recording. But thanks everyone who joined live or on demand. Good luck with all your picks. And I will see you tomorrow on the live show, actually, with Lewis Jones. So take care, y'all, and gamble responsibly next time.